was in my first appointment as an organist over 50 years ago, the minister was one of those who really only had one sermon. He reminded me of my former days as a Sunday school pianist, when it seemed that almost every week, especially when the weather was nice, we sang, "Yes, God is good, all nature says, from ocean depth and spreading wood." His sermons invariably encouraged everyone to look round and marvel in God's wonderful world. The trouble for me was that I had just completed a degree in natural sciences, where for the last 2 years I had been made to study entomology, that's all about insects, and parasitology, all about parasites. I saw how a cloud of locusts could destroy a farmer's crop in a single night, a crop which would have fed his family and much of his village for a year. And I won't even begin to tell you about filarial worms and liver flukes. In the 1960s, half the world's population died prematurely, directly or indirectly, from malaria, a tiny parasite transmitted by an insect. It still affects over 200 million people worldwide. Nature is a battleground where no prisoners are taken, no mercy is shown, and where the strongest always wins. And then there was my job, which, as an epidemiologist, was to compile a register of everyone in the southeast of England who developed cancer. In those days, over 50,000 men, women and children every year. Yes, God is good, all nature says. I didn't think so. Then we moved to the beautiful county of Herefordshire, where nature certainly seems to say, yes, God is good. But I knew that nature really says nothing of the kind. To my surprise, I soon found myself on the local preacher's course. Not because I wanted to be a local preacher, but just to make up the numbers. Though I say it myself, I wrote some quite good sermons, safe in the knowledge that I would never have to preach them. Our tutor was the Reverend Malcolm Willey, whom many of you will fondly remember. And one evening, after I had read one of my particularly spectacular sermons to the group, Malcolm said, "Dick, why won't you be a local preacher?" So I said that I had a real problem about God, and told everyone at great length what I've just told you. Malcolm listened patiently, and when at last I had finished, he simply said, "Dick, you don't have a problem with God. Your problem is that man Jesus, because he just won't go away." Looking back to that evening 30 years ago, it was my Aldersgate. I once had a colleague who had 3 trays on his desk: an in tray, an out tray, and a too difficult tray. That evening I was able to park God in my too difficult tray, and from then on all I needed to care about was that man Jesus. On Boxing Day 2004, about a mile of ocean depths moved 50 feet, and almost 250,000 people lost their lives in the space of 24 hours. Millions more were robbed of their homes, their livelihoods and their future. And now we are in a global health crisis, the like of which has not been seen for 100 years. It may well have begun when a bat flew out of a spreading wood in central China. But still, for me, Good Friday is the day above all others when that man Jesus just won't go away. God is still in my too difficult tray, and I just don't know what happened on that first Easter day. So that's in my too difficult tray as well. But of this I am sure. On this strange Easter day, when our chapels, churches and cathedrals are locked up and empty, and even most church bells are silent, that man Jesus is alive and well in every care home, every hospital ward, and every intensive care unit all over the world. And he certainly won't be going away.